Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where right now is 18:08. Today it's time for YouTube's favorite show. That's right, here on my corner of the internet. It's time for the SNR. It's time for the what? It's time for the SNR. It's time for the what? It's time for the SNR. And I just realized I didn't actually go out of frame. Anyway, it's time for the Saturday News Recap. Ladies and gentlemen, where I take up some of the things that I thought was the most interesting for the last week. And this is going to be in hyperspeed. And do you want to know why? Do you want to know bloody why? Well, because today I had a bloody hard exam and it was a horrible experience because we got the answer to if we passed or failed directly. I'm passed, but still it was kind of the stressful moments in there. Can't even really describe it. I'm gonna start for about 3 hours tonight. So yeah, that's probably why this is going to be quite fast. I have a fresh cut, by the way. Anyway, so over the last week, there was a meeting between, or rather, over the last week, there were a planned meeting between the US President, Donald Trump, and the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un. Scheduled on the 12th of June, but they kind of cancelled this. As a response to this, there was a North Korean official going to the United States, which was the first time in like over 20 years or something like that, or the first time ever where a high-ranked official of the North Korean, nation met up with a ranking politician of the U.S. as well. So that was quite interesting. Now Trump was given a huge envelope containing something which we do not know. The article that I read about it, he didn't know either, even though it was confirmed later on that evening that he did have read it. So what are we standing with right now? We're standing with a meeting between two international leaders, that was cancelled by one of them. Then one government official came over to the other country, and now it's back on track. Wow, that was kind of the most exciting news over the last week, I'd say. I'd like to argue. Yeah, let's just double check to see if I missed anything, but I would not actually argue that I did. Those were the most interesting things that happened this week. And the goes over and over and around and around and around. However, what I would like to argue, or rather what I would like to point towards as well, not just the politics of it all, but the implication of business. And yet again, we're taking this in hyperspeed. Imagine though, if North Korea, a country that is for the moment considered to be poor, at least from the perspective where I'm standing, because I do not know enough about the country to actually have an educated opinion about the country's full economy. However, if we assume and if we argue that it is actually poor, then imagine if North Korea is opening up its borders to actually trade with other companies, or rather with other countries, but their companies trading with other companies as well. That creates the opportunity for North and South Korea to actually be joined together again. However, the problem with that, the implication of the country's entire economy is that South Korea is probably, just my assumption, vastly more developed than North Korea, which would create kind of a problem when merging the countries, because the appalling state of the North Korean economy, as I assume it to be, communing with the South Korean economy that is quite strong, would create, an anchor for South Korea, dragging them down in economic development. Now, this is not the obvious way to go to countries or parts of the same countries that have the same country name, just by denoting now North and South being the difference, being actually joined together again. That might not be what is actually happening. Could just be that North Korea is saying, hey, we're open for trade, everybody. We're open for trade. And that is also creating its own interesting interaction, because that probably, hopefully, means that there are some international standardized groups that can go in and see what is going on in the country, which would give a huge insight, into the country and into the economic implications that would happen. Now, my theory, right, and this is not developed at all, this is just a spur of the moment, kind of a raw footage idea, that if North Korea opens up, their entire economy is going to boom, because people are going to substitute them a lot, not substitute them, but they will pay subsidies and grants to the countries in order for it to rebuild, like the US did with Europe, the entirety of Europe after World War II, so that it actually would build up, so that the catastrophe of not being built up would create another war in and within itself. In those past times, I would argue, or I would think, I would theorize, right, that is kind of what is going to be happening with North Korea as well, if they do open up for trade. And if they do open up for trade and they get all of these loans, they get all of these grants, they get all of these substitutions, would it be that big of a deal for them to join back with South Korea? I mean, economically, right? It wouldn't be as big of a deal if they do develop the country over a couple of years. I mean, if we look at Japan, they were like, what, industrialized in the country in like, what, 20 years or something like that? That took Europe like 100 or 200 years to do. So, of course, there is the possibility, especially in this dying age, it could be considered to be like the upcoming North Korean miracle, so to say, when it comes to internationalization and standardization and what you would say is the industrialization, yeah? Or rather, should we say it's industrialization when it's more of an internet-based era and a multinational-based era? Maybe it's multinationalization by the internet. Oh yeah, there's a new coined term, a new coined the phrase. Am I right, people? Am I right? Anyway, that's kind of the international news for this week. I know we're going in hyperspeed, and that is because I can crash at any given notice, yeah? At any given moment, because I'm so hyped being done with... Oh, is that actually the news for today? Yes, that's actually the news that has been happening over the last week. Yes, it is. Not only did I past week, hand in the thesis. Not only did we actually oppose and defend the thesis this week. Not only that, but I also handed in my last, which was exam today. Woo! Yes, we handed in the last exam, which means since I do not have any exams after me, I don't have any re-exams, that I am bloody done with university. Woohoo! I'm going to be officially done with university next week on Friday the next, so to say, on the 8th of June, which is going to be an amazing feeling that I probably won't be able to appreciate fully until a couple of days afterwards when I start working and I think like, oh, I had it so chill in university and now I'm working. Oh, it's the worst thing ever. No, it probably won't be. It will probably be amazing and hilarious. But what I would like to point out is that I actually finished university today. And I can't believe that this is my only reaction. Could be because, sleep deprived. Yeah, future me. Just imagine yourself standing in this situation. You're sleep deprived. You've been out with your friends. It's a really hot day. And you've been out a lot. And you've been shopping. It's been an exhausting day, yeah? Lots of resources, capital being distributed where you didn't plan them to be distributed this very morning. However, there were sound choices, so I do agree with the purchase, right? Well, I certainly do, because I'm me now, and future me might actually agree when you see how good these suits turned out to be. It's gonna be amazing. Anyway, mates, anyway, enough with future notes to myself, and probably gonna wrap this up because that was everything for me today. No, actually, you know what we can also add? Yeah, yesterday I kind of talked about this idea of we are, as parents saying we are, and I just felt, when I was done that wasn't really clearly specified what I actually meant in the video, so I was walking away from the video being like, I could have done that better. Now, the reason for that is because I truly believe that the thing, the we are argument for parents talking about their kids, making a straight trajectory for them, is telling them what they are and what they do, and what they should want and what they need, instead of letting the kids do that themselves, is a huge problem in society overall. Or, from my perspective, I would argue that it actually is, and that it's hindering development of a progressive and diverse society. However, that point probably didn't come across, and the reason for that is that I've had this very topic in my notes on my phone for weeks, because I've been thinking about how should I actually approach this, yeah? And yesterday I was just thinking, you know what, I have some arguments, the religious purposes, we have the entire idea with... the entire idea with occupation. Let's just go with that and see where we end up. But what I realized when I did the video was that it's hella confusing, yeah? So just gonna make that straight. That was all about this idea that we, perspective of parents talking for their kids, not for, or talking, I guess you're saying that. They were talking for their kids, not for their kids. They were talking in, they were, this is going to be abstract and diffuse to say, anyway. They were talking for their kids. They weren't proposing their kids with alternatives, yeah? They were putting their own kids, obviously, on a trajectory to what they believe to be right, maybe even to fulfill their own dreams, hopes, and glory days, right? And not considering what a child might actually be. That's kind of the bigger problem there that I was trying to lift. If that was clear or not, that's a bit iffy, I guess. Anyway, mates, as I was going to say for a couple of minutes ago, kind of gonna end it here because, I'm tired. And it's really hot outside, and I probably have solsting. I don't know what that is in English. When you've been out and you have hair like me that's protecting you as much as I do with my fresh cut, like literally nothing, and you're just being like, whimsy and dimsy because of the sun's rays. Anyway, as I said, have a nice one, mates. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.